this tutorial, we're going to be looking at making this procedural ink blot transition. By procedural, I mean there's no images involved, there's no need to import PNG files. It's all done in Fusion. Okay, so I'm going to bring in a couple of clips so that we've got something to transition. And I'm just going to them back so they've got some handles. Okay, start off, come to your effects library, which you can open at the top, video transitions, and just bring in any transition, doesn't matter which. I'll go with this cross dissolve. Zoom in by pressing the Alt key or Option key and just scrolling your mouse wheel. Right click on your transition, convert to Fusion cross dissolve, and then right click on the transition again and open in Fusion. This brings us into our Fusion window. Just for clarity, I'm going to label which is which here. So media 1 is the fish. Media 2 is our waterfall. And I'm going to delete this cross dissolve because we don't need it. And I'm going to bring in a merge node. Now, which way around these get connected, I will sort out at the end. I think it's that way around, with the first clip or the fish going into the background and the waterfall coming into the foreground. And what we're going to do is we're going to build a mask to attach to this, and that's the point of the tutorial, is the mask. So to build our mask, we're going to need a background. We're going to need something to mask the background with. It can be any shape you want. It can be a rectangle, an ellipse, or a polygon. Just for safety or for simplicity's sake, I'm going to go with an ellipse. Like so. And if we put that background in the viewer, this is what we've got. Now what we need is for this ellipse to start at 0, so no circle, and come all the way out to the edge of the screen across the length of our transition, which is 24 frames. So I'm going to go back to frame 0, select the ellipse. I'm going to right click on height, pick expression, and then I'm going to just take this plus sign with my mouse held and drop it on width. What that does is it keeps it as a perfect circle by making the height the same as the width. Next, I'm going to right click on width, and I'm going to go to modify width and Anim Curve. If we now come to the top of our inspector, the modifier button is now available if we click on it. These are the settings for our Anim Curve. As we scroll through, you can see that the circle grows. Now what we want is for it to hit full side or full screen at frame 23. So bring your playhead to frame 23, click and hold the number for scale and just pull it down. And eventually you'll see our circle. What we want is for that to just hit the edge there. So that gives you your scale. So now when we play through, we get this effect. And if we attach that to the mask of our merge node, what we should find is that. So as the circle grows, our waterfall becomes visible. So how do we get the ink blot type effect? Well, what we do is we select our background node, shift spacebar and type displace, and hit enter. This puts the displace node into our node tree. Now what we need is something to drive that displace node, and for that we're going to use a fast noise, which you can find on your hotbar here, second button in from the left. Drag it down underneath your displace node and connect it to the green input of your displace node. Now if we view our displace node, we've got our circle, and if we drag our fast noise into the other viewer, we can see our fast noise. And what we're going to do is we're going to tweak this fast noise. So we're going to increase the detail, we're going to increase the contrast, drop the brightness a little bit, and then increase the scale. And you can see as we increase the scale, we start to get a more ink blotty type look. What you can also try and do is click discontinuous, which again just gives you a different sort of pattern. Now if we come to the displace node, we're going to go to the type, change it from radial to XY, and we're going to up the X refraction like so, and we're going to up the Y refraction a similar amount. These are all personal preferences. There's no hard and fast rule as to how much or how little. I guess it's just about playing with it to get the effect you want. So now if we play through and watch our displace node, we get this sort of effect, which applied to our media gives the kind of ink blot type effect. Now if you want, you can just leave it as one circle, or you can add after your displace node. Disconnect this from here. We're going to select the displace node and we're going to type duplicate, which puts the duplicate node in. Now if we bring it back so we can see, so that the image isn't quite as big, you can make as many copies as you want. 3 to 5 seems to work quite well. So if we say 4 copies and then come to the jitter tab and increase your center X to spread them out a bit. You can also click on the seed button to get different patterns. And then we can just slightly tweak the Y, and now we get this kind of pattern. What you notice is you start to get this line here, and I don't know why. Put that through a transform. And then we can just increase the size so that that straight edge is off the screen, like so. And then you have your ink blot, and then again you just pipe this back into the mask. And there you go, you have your ink blot type effect without having to import any images. And then we can just play it through a couple of times on the edit tab. Okay, so we should now be able to play it through on the edit tab a couple of times just to get it to cache. There we go. And then you get your ink blot transition. What you can also then do is extend this so that your transitions are a bit longer. And again, let it recache. And that's it. In Fusion, you can come into your displace, come into your duplicate, and you can play with the settings to get different effects. You can also use a different shape. As I say, polygon could be quite good because that way you can get sort of fairly random sort of shape. So put your polygon in and let your imagination run wild with you. Just click wherever. And it gives you a different shape. You can select all your points and round them off. And again with your polygon, if you come to the inspector and go to size, right click, modify with Anim Curves, again come to your modifier, come to your last frame and change the scale so that you've just filled your frame. And away you go. Different shape. Simple as that. The displace, the fast noise, will change the look of your ink blot. Your duplicate will change your sort of positioning, and then your transform just to sort of increase it in size if you start to get these sort of flat lines. So yeah, hope that makes sense. Once you've got it set up, if you right click and create transition preset, you can call it what you want. And this will then save it down here in your user bit. There we go, Ink Blot, and then you can just use that over and over. If you use it and you want to modify it, drag it in. So let's get rid of that one. He says drag your ink blot in, right click, open in Fusion, and then you can make all your changes that you want. Okay, hopefully that's short and sweet and makes sense, and I will catch you on the next one. Cheers.